もう始めていいんですかね。
いいえ、なんかここで今、多分、ミシェルさんがこの準備ができたら Q を出してくれるそうなので、それまで、はい、待っていってくださいということでした。
オーディエンスの顔は映らない。
そうですね。なんかYouTube を使って、すみません、そうですね。YouTube を使って。
All right. 皆さん、こんにちは. We're excited to have everyone here today. This event is presented by the Asia Center at the University of Utah. The Asia Center is a Title VI National Resource Center, and it serves as a hub for Asian-related activities at the University of Utah, involving teaching, research, and community outreach. The Asia Center provides faculty with the resources and intellectual environment to realize cutting-edge research and works with campus and community partners to develop exceptional educational opportunities, courses, public events, study abroad, and internship programs for students. My name is Michaela Tan. I'm going to be your MC today. I'm a graduate student. I'm studying Asian Studies with an emphasis in Japanese. And today we have students from all over. We have students from University of Utah, Salt Lake Community College, BYU, as well as professors and language learners from across the country. Thank you all for taking the time to join us and coming together as Japanese language enthusiasts. We also would like to thank Shoji Azuma for organizing this event and Meredith Medina for helping us technically. And finally, we would like to thank Makino Sensei for taking time out of his busy schedule to meet with us and share his expertise. He's been a pleasure to work with and is truly an expert in his field, so we're really lucky to have him. And before we have him present, I would like to share his bio and also encourage you all to think of questions during his presentation that you would like to ask. And at the end, we will have a Q&A. And so this is a wonderful chance for you to ask questions to a Japanese linguistics master. So Seiichi Makino was born in Tokyo, Japan in 1935. He studied English literature at Waseda University and linguistics at the University of Tokyo. In 1964, he had a Fulbright scholarship and received his PhD in linguistics from the University of Illinois and became a tenured professor there. He has also taught at Harvard University, Columbia University, and Middlebury College. Eventually, he moved to Princeton University as a Japanese and linguistics professor and has remained there until he retired in 2012 and is now a professor emeritus of Japanese and linguistics. He has a lot of major book publications. I'm just going to list his recent ones. He wrote a bilingual dictionary of English and Japanese metaphors, and Nihongo wo honyaku suru toyu koto, ushinawareru mono, nokoru mono, which is what will be lost and what will remain. He's currently analyzing modern Japanese literature using the notion of kakudai bunsetsu and is working to characterize each piece in terms of its syntactic structures. He has also received noteworthy awards. In 2014, he received the Order of the Sacred Treasure from the Japanese government because of his major contributions in his academic exchanges between Japan and the US, and for all of his developments of establishing better Japanese language. Moreover, he was the president of the Association of the Teachers of Japanese, which is the largest and most respected Japanese language linguistics teachers organization in the US. With that being said, we're extremely excited to have Makino Sensei here, and we're so excited to learn from him. And so now the moment you've all been waiting for, we'd like to turn the time over to Makino Sensei. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about how much can spatial notions of inside and outside explain Japanese language, not just a language, but culture too. And Uchi is inside, Soto is outside. If you didn't know those two terms, why don't you memorize Uchi versus Soto? Okay. Oh. Oh. No?
Right.
Okay. So Uchi and Soto, I will present them in more concrete ways. For example, in language, there's a deletion is possible, but opposite way is to repeat something. Okay. So the more you repeat, the phrase goes to outside. And also, next one is time or tense. And genzai means present, and kako means jikan. Past tense. Okay? And the first person, next one is first person, second person. Okay? Those two personal pronouns, these are uchi, okay? Especially first person, of course. Watashi wa sensei desu, something like that. But if you go to the third person, which Japanese do not like so much, okay? But anyway, there's a third person just like in English, okay? And also, there are two kinds of voices. Those people who study Japanese learn that how passive constructions are important in Japanese. And that's uchi, used in uchi. Not always, but if it becomes the non-passive active voice, then it goes to outside. Okay? And Japanese kind of cultural emphasis is placed always on left-hand side, uchi side. Okay? And next one, those are becoming more abstract. First one is kyokan. Japanese reading is kyokan. This is a relatively difficult word, even for native Japanese. It's empathy. And antipathy is opposite, soto. Okay? Kyokan is uchi. And next one is jotai, means informal speech. Among friends, they never use polite speech. Okay? So polite speech is keitai, formality is expressed. So it's soto. So Americans emphasize on jotai, informal speech, very much more, I think. Okay. But Japanese use certainly in the keigo, polite speech, this formality is expressed. Next one is maybe これでさした方がいいかな。
じゃあ、刺します。はい。これじゃないと多分できないので、これですね。
Next one is pathos comes from English pathos, originally from classical Greek. And logos is expression of logos, not emphatic, not emotive, but more intellectual. Of course, Japanese produce lots of scholars, so it's not the case that Japanese cannot think in terms of logos. But usually in daily conversation, Japanese tend to become emotive in good sense. Okay. Next one, tense. Past tense, present tense, past tense, right? Okay. And of course, your viewpoint changes, formality into formality or persons, first person, second person, third person. But viewpoint doesn't much move around, okay? Infrequent shifts. That's a contrast, okay? Okay. Next one is getting more interesting. It's known by the term miren at the end. Miren. Miren is if someone, let's say, something is okay too, but someone is not visible any longer, not is around you. But Japanese tends to retain them so that you can see a person more often or can deal with something more closely. Okay. The opposite is anti-miren. I just created this word. American tends to show anti-miren more strongly than Japanese, I think. Okay, the examples are given there. Japanese tends to use longer time to say goodbye. Okay, Americans will be surprised that Japanese tends to go up the station close to when the train comes in until the train goes out of sight. They're standing, waving and so forth, okay? And also, if it's an impressive one, they make haiku. Do you know haiku? I hope you do. I will get it into more in detail later. And tanka, a little bit longer than haiku. Haiku is 5, 7, 5 syllable poem. Okay, tanka is a little bit longer, 5, 7, 5 plus 7, 7, 14 beat. So ta 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 ta. This is 5-7-5. Okay, so Japanese like 5 or 7 laps. You know that those 2 poems are very famous. Okay, and American culture says you'd better not stick to one thing for so long. Okay, you have to change for the new thing. Okay, or make a change, great change on something you have encountered and look at it or analyze it for some time. Okay, right? Page, right? And Japanese like to, in English says, in microscopic observation or creation, very tiny things. You know. Sometimes you must, I don't, maybe you have not seen, grain of rice. Okay, on top the small grain of rice, some Japanese, I couldn't do it, write some poem or a Chinese character, unbelievable. Okay, but Japanese is not so good at macroscopic observation. Okay, so for example, I'll go back to the original. First one, bonsai. Have you ever heard of bonsai? Make a big tree. Potentially, that tree grows very big, but so intentionally make it smaller. But when you look at it as if it were a real big tree. Ikebana, flower arrangement, of course, sometimes flowers only, but sometimes flowers and stalk of the flower and so forth, but something smaller, and Japanese tends to make a very microscopic observation or creation. But Americans or Indo-European people, language people, like macroscopic observation, bird's eye view. Okay. Of course, Japanese is changing, but that's a basic difference. Okay. And usually look at people from above, bird's eye view. They believe bird's eye view produce more objective view. Okay. And this is E. Onryo. It's written, Korean scholar, wrote a book in Japanese. I don't think it has been translated by someone. Japanese tendency making things small, he said. Japanese tend to love small things. Of course, that's applicable to Americans, for example, but the degree to which Japanese loves small things is very characteristically Japanese culture. Okay, here's some examples. On the right-hand side, this is a model house garden, right? And on the left one is a real one surrounded by real housing. And you know tatami? Tatami is usually Japanese room size, traditional Japanese room is counted in terms of tatami, how many tatami are being used. 8 used to be 10. Okay, this is no tatami here, but very small area, but make it look as if it were large park or something like that. Okay, within a small house. Yeah, here comes a very interesting word. Okay, I think ちょっと翻訳があるかどうか見てください。Yeah, but before I get here, before the spring comes around, already actually, depending on the location, but February 3rd through 4th, you know this small girl doing? Broil, she is just throwing. Who is this guy? This is actually bad guy, okay? And girl represent good guy, okay? And they say, fuku wa uchi, oni wa soto. Happiness inside. Uchi could mean house, my house. 僕の家はね、小さいんだよ. Something like that. Okay? And happiness of the god. And Oni is a demon like this. Belongs to Soto. Okay? Somehow, ethically speaking, Uchi, space Uchi, is regarded as happiness or goodness, but Oni is outside. So it's a demon's place outside. Okay, so happiness inside, demon outside. Okay, yeah, I'll skip it. Okay, here now this is more abstract. Okay, in Japanese, 内から外へ, from inside to outside, and 外から内へ, outside to inside. Okay. So both ways, 内外. And also, so up and down, or inside and outside. Okay. I just made a model of this. Okay. So 内外 is a very interesting model, can be. There are other metaphorical, I said metaphorical space concepts. Okay. Ue, you know ue, don't you? Ue, above, shita, below, and mae, in front, ushiro, outside, hidari, left, migi, right. Okay. Always, second, some of them is bad. Shita is regarded as kind of bad. Okay. A long time ago, there was a popular song, 上を向いて遊ぼうよ。遊ぼうよ。Yeah, let's look upward and play. I think Western culture too, they emphasize 上 as a very, very positive space. Okay, in Christianity, that's true. But mae is okay, but ushiro is not so good. Okay, so the sentence like you can read the English version. 人生は前を向いて歩くべきだ。後ろを向いて歩いたら進歩はない。Okay? Always 上を向いて前に行く。That's a positive one. Japanese love this simple rule. And 右 and 左. Okay. 右 is stronger version. So 数学科の彼女の右に出る者はいない。There is no one to compare with her in the department of mathematics. So right-hand side, who is always in that area in mathematics. Or Sadaijin, left ministers, right minister. Okay. And Udaijin is supposed to be better, I think. Okay. Okay, so let's skip this. Okay, let's skip. Okay, now there's oku. Oku is, if it's a building is large, there is a corner, inner corner or part of place, right? Those are okue. When someone visited your relatively big house for the first time, どうぞ奥へいらしてください. Something like that. Okay? And oku means also innermost part, most space. So this space is regarded as good. Okay? And pool, I happen to be the lover of swimming. I'm swimming every day. But プールはこの建物の奥にあります。Okay? something kind of hidden. That's okay. Okay? Or B、混んでいますから、奥の方にお詰めください。It's crowded, so please move down. Okay? C、漱石。This is the most famous man of literature in Japan. Natsume is the last name. I didn't write it down. 漱石。Everybody has read at least in 小学校 or 中学校 or 高校. But even adults still keep reading his novels. Remember this name. There's, of course, translations. D, when Japanese are opposed deep down, they sometimes don't say so. Okay. 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 Cat is in Japanese. Cat, neko. This character. Okay. Hiragana is neko, right? Neko, the sound neko, and animal cat have nothing to do with sound. Okay. So basically, meaning and sound are unrelated. Okay. Now, one is not that important. Number two, did you learn onyomi and soto kunyomi? Okay. How do you read this? Do you know? Can you read this? Fuji-san. San is onyomi. Okay. But there is a kunyomi, Japanese reading. San is closer to Chinese pronunciation. Okay. And so let's see. Yama, where is Yama? Narayama, or there's so many nani yama. Okay? And so what's the difference? 富士山、ちょっと一つ何々山を言ってください。
じゃあ、何々山。富士山じゃなくてですね。
富士山じゃない。
はい、じゃあ。
東京の近くにもあるし、割とちょっと2人とも出なくなっちゃったかな。
高尾山違いますね。
大
文字山。
大文字山。Now, what difference impression? 音読み is 外読み。外。Okay. 訓読み is 内。Okay. So, Fuji-san, have you ever seen at least a picture, photograph of Mount Fuji in Japan? Very high, not just a height, but look very austere. Okay, that's why Fujiyama is not used. Fuji no Yama, there's a time when it used to be called Yama, Fuji no Yama, but no particle no comes in after Fuji. Okay. Let's see. And Daimonji Yama. Yeah, here is Daimonji Yama in Kyoto. Kyoto mountain. Mountain is not austere looking at all. But I think in summertime, they kind of make a letter of dye and put the fire on it so that they can enjoy big dye, okay, in hiragana. Okay. Let's see. Onomatope, you know onomatope, right? Onomatope for example,
ふわふわ
ふわふわする、ワクワクする、ゲラゲラ笑う、so forth. There is a dictionary of onomatopoeia alone. Okay? I don't know what sort of onomatopoeia you learned. Then somehow, for example, if you say pom pom, it's a stomach, outside stomach, pom pom. Something has to do with stomach. If you do this, it makes noise like that. Okay? Or father is mad at his son or daughter, then ガンガン怒る。怒る is get mad. ガンガン怒る。お前どうしたんガンガンガンガンガン。That sort of, okay? すいません、次のページ。Example are given there. ちょっと山を富士山。Those of you who have never seen Mount Fuji, doesn't this mountain look kind of austere and beautiful, artistic? Okay, next. Yeah. This is Arashiyama in Kyoto. You cannot see well, but the sakura and behind it, right? You see the low mountains and loved by Kyoto people, not just the Kyoto people, but lots of people coming around here in springtime or autumn time to enjoy Mount Arashi. Okay, so usually, yeah, okay, yes, yeah, example given here. Oh, by the way, I will let you know, let you make a copy. You can own it, okay, for nothing. So you can ask professor here at your university, I will permit. This is not a commercial object at all, okay? So you can use it kind of a dictionary, okay? Oh, Makino spoke that one. That appears in this lesson or something like that, okay? One thing is, I wrote it in English, Japanese tend to avoid using adult language to the baby, okay? American mothers do, have a kind of kids terms too, but not to the extent that we can make a dictionary out of it in Japan, okay? Okay. For example, leg is anyo, or anyo suru means walk, okay? Suwaru is chanko. Chanko shite, chanko shimashou ne, something like that. Noru is nonno. Kuruma ni nonno shiyou ka. Dog is wan. This is bow wow. Okay? There are something in English too. Onaka, yeah, I use it, pom pom. Jidosha, boo boo. Sakana, ototo. Atama, otsumu. Aruku ashi, anyo. So when a baby about to start to walk, anyo, and praise him or her. Anyo jozu, anyo wa jozu, like that. Okay, hi, next page. Yeah, okay. Okay. Sometimes Japanese tend to heal. It's not strictly speaking heal, metaphor, heal. Okay. For example, トイレの水が詰まっている。This is difficult to explain. Dog, Okay? Or お風呂の水が溢れている。overflooding お風呂の水。Okay? バイオリンの音色。The sound of her violin is muddy. In English, it can make any sense. But 濁っている。Okay? いいでしょう。その次行きましょう。Yeah, this is a linguist very famous at MIT. I don't know whether he is. I listened to his presentation, but he said this. Music perception. Music is always, all the music is expression of human emotion. That's what he said. Okay? So emotionality and this sort of 比喩的 expression is a very important thing too. And have you ever heard the name Murakami Haruki? Haruki Murakami? He loves both classical music and jazz music. Murakami Haruki stayed two years at Princeton, and his second year is my first year at Princeton. So I was the only faculty who listened to his presentation, I mean class, in Japanese, and very interesting. But he said this when he discussed with Ozawa Seiji, most famous Japanese conductor of classical music. Okay? He discussed very interesting thing with Murakami Haruki. And I don't think translation is not out. I don't know. But anyway, he said, regarding rhythm, Haruki Murakami said this. Writers should have something that comes at the top priority. In my case, it is rhythm. So if you read his original Japanese novels, certainly you start to listen to sounds, rhythmic sound. Okay, it's amazing. Okay, I like Murakami Haruki very much. And he also said this, rhythm is a very important element for both the reader and the writer. When I'm writing a novel, I cannot come up with what I should write next unless there is a rhythm. The story won't proceed unless there is a rhythm of sentence, rhythm of stories. While I'm writing, I'm creating sounds in the brain. This way, rhythm comes into being. Rhythm and emotive feeling, both are Uchi, right? So his novels, I wondered why his novels is so widely read. It's not just, they are not reading just with eyes, but with sounds. And translation, I don't know. Okay, right? Now here comes my findings. Okay. 口外音 is K consonant or G consonant. Beyond is a nose sound, literally means nose sound, okay? And M or N or N, those are English nasals. It's called nasals. So, 口外音 Vela sounds a repetition of K or G. カチカチ、ガタガタ、ガリガリ、コロコロ、ゴロゴロ、コツコツ。You feel something anti-feeling toward this sound. Soto sounds. Okay. I call it those 口外音 Vela sounds express outer sound. Okay. If it's a non-outer repetitive sound, there are those two. As long as 口外音 Vela sounds are used, you feel some distance. Okay. Okay. But if you use nasal sounds, M, N, okay, then you feel closer. Okay. Nayo, nayo, the way young lady walk, nayo, nayo, then the guys are interested in her, maybe. Okay. Nayo, nayo, neba, neba. Neba, neba is, なんだろう、納豆ね。Do you know 納豆? Maybe not, but very healthy, so eat it. I'm eating it every day. Okay. にちゃにちゃ、にちゃにちゃ、ねちねち、めそめそ、もんもん、むしゃむしゃ。But not just those words, but grammatical words. Okay? Compare the particle of reason. One is K sounds plus ら、から。今日は寒いからうちにいます。versus 今日は寒いのでうちにいます。What's the difference? Although is mean けれど versus のに although, right? But initial sound, one is かきくけこ。口外音、Vela sound. のにのの is beyond. So it's a grammatical explanation needs the express implication of Vela sounds or Vela sounds or nasal sounds. Okay? More, I think grammar has to do with sounds, but kara. So if I think, did I give the example? No. Well, that's okay. Suppose you are late because you have overslept. When getting into the schoolroom, you say, 先生に、今日はたくさん寝たので、遅れました。すいません。たくさん寝たから。Too strong. Okay? K sound is too strong. So, Soto sound. Okay? But if you say, nayo, nayo, neba, neba, ni chan, cha, right? Those are beyond. So, you are kind of attracted. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, in this blue color is Soto Song. きっぱりと冬が来た。Did I show the example? Oh, yeah. Winter has come. Okay. Of course, English doesn't translate those effect of the sound, right? Oh, yeah. This is the Takamura Kotaro's poem, 冬が来た. Very famous poem, always grade school kids, I think, they are learning this poem. Okay? So Fuyu is, I don't like it, but many people don't like it unless you ski or something. Okay. 八つ手の白い花も消え。This is a kind of a bad implication, right? It's gone. イチョウの木も、放棄も、放棄になった。All of a sudden turn into green nasal sound. Okay? Nothing to do with the 破裂音. Nothing strong about it. Okay? キリキリと。This is a strong word. 揉み込むような冬が来た。Okay? Let's look at the English translation. No, sound doesn't reflect, right? So let's move on. This is currently very active. He came here once. I talked with him over lunchtime, over lunch. And yeah, he is a very famous poet. But nonsense, almost a song of an empty can. カンからカンのすったらかん、コーラの空き缶蹴っ飛ばせ、お日様カンカン、トンチンカン、カンからカンのすったらかん、カンカン鳴らせドラム缶、時間空間新聞館。Okay? So the strong sound and weak sound, more feminine sound are mixed up. Okay? And Japanese love to do those things. Okay? And yeah, more example. これですね。谷川俊太郎. Here is another very famous poet. 野の花, flowers of the fields. 野の花. Sounds good. Okay? In poem, inside the poem too. 花の野の花, 花のなに、なぜなの花、名もない野花. Like that. Okay? If it's written in Chinese character inside, this is getting less interesting. Okay? So read this, look at this original hiragana, all hiragana poem. Okay. Here comes another very famous poet, and she was a high school Japanese literature teacher, language and literature teacher, and her first published was a bestseller in 1987. Okay, she used only one strong consonant. なんでもない会話、なんでもない笑顔、なんでもないからふるさとが好き。Okay? このkey, interesting. I cannot explain why. But anyway, so, okay. Now, another interesting, this should help you when you encounter new vocabulary that ends in E or C. E is a typical adjective, but C, E. For example, yeah, 新しい、忙しい、涼しい、嬉しい、悲しい、おいしい、寂しい、懐かしい, and so on and so forth. Always, if she is inserted, before E final ending, that means emotive. Okay? Okay. Okay. If C is missing, not non-emotive. Okay? Okay. And na 形容詞 na type adjective, 温かい versus 温かな。温かな人。温かい人だな。If you use it with a person, 温かな sounds much better than 温かい人。Okay? 細かい、細かな、小さい、小さな。Okay? 小さいリンゴ、小さなリンゴ。Yeah, if you say 小さな、that's why I like it. Or that's why I don't like it. Something has to do with human emotion. Okay? 大きい。この机は大きいです。But if you say 大きな相撲取り、small player, for example, 大きなお相撲さん。Okay? Nasal versus velar sounds. It's not just the sounds. Okay? So memorize it. Know it. I hope you learn those words in the later lessons if you are taking currently first year Japanese. Okay? Okay. Japanese sentence is getting more and more important, especially when you are dealing with scientific things too. Okay? Japanese language is called subject, object, and verb construction, SOV construction. So you should know towards the end, say goodbye takes more time. I said to say goodbye to sentence itself, right? So what comes at the end is most important element. If you have learned no da or da alone or desu, 今日のお昼ご飯は美味しかったんだよ。美味しかったんだよ。Okay? So, noda is always expressed, especially no da. Okay? Very important nasal sound. Okay? And certainly refer to one's internal things, emotive things. Okay? So never use kada. Noda is okay, but ka, kida, kuda, keda, out. Okay? Okay, so noda is emotive uchi particle, part of the expression. Okay? その次お願いします。Okay. Japanese sentence can have this sort of word order. Okay? Sentence ending 来週の土曜日にパーティーがあるよ。You can intonation can lower to the period, but if the speaker forget this thing, the last Yamada no Uchi de, that certainly becomes very important. Actually, speaker said, "Gee, I forgot about Yamada no Uchi." Okay, all right. even Soseki. Remember, I used this most famous novelist, and haiku, he made a haiku too. Okay, anyway. 小林さんなんかにはとても見当のつかない未知的なものがたくさんあるわ、夫婦の間には。Why is the ending of the female speaker? Okay? There are lots of mysterious things that someone in your shoes would never notice between a man and his wife. Okay. John Nathan is a translator whom I know. Okay. Yeah, let's skip B. 今何時ですか？
今は、4時です、ね。
あと
30分。
はい、はい。だけど急がなきゃいけないね。はい。let me skip this. Okay. Skip this. Skip this. Let's see. Okay, this one. Japanese tense can shift. Okay. English tense can shift too, but not to the extent of Japanese. Okay. So if you pick up the famous novelists, those green part, 虫が鳴いている and 聞こえる if it's a past tense, 鳴いていた right? 聞こえた、okay. 月は満月に近く明るいが and 小山の上を描く木々の輪郭はぼやけている。All the green part is, although this already occurred on the 10 days before August, the writer who happened to receive Nobel Prize, first one, I think. Second one, maybe. First one? 一番目にもらった人ですかね。でしたかね。Okay, never mind. That's not so important. Only red part is past tense. Okay. Japanese quickly, present tense is the most important tense because Uchi tense. Okay. Past tense is a past tense. It occurred. So who cares? But green part is, I care. Gee, already insects started to cry, right? But what the crucial part of this novel is Yama no Oto. This Yama no Sound of Mountain is a topic name of the novel. Datta, past tense. Okay. He didn't like it. Yama no Oto, they say, makes you crazy. And it has a deep sound below. Past tense, red color. Okay? So this sort of things often do. Japanese, uchi, 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 soto, soto, or soto, 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 all of a sudden, uchi. Okay. So when you write some kind of sakuban in Japanese lesson, you should learn this from your teacher. Okay. Let's move on. Yeah, this is a Edward Seidenstick. He passed away, is one of the most famous translator of Japanese literature. All the translation, no matter present tense in Japanese, red, 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 red. Okay? So there's no distinction between Uchi tense and Soto tense. they are psychologically very important. Okay? This is the original one, Mishima Yukio, who killed himself in a traditional Japanese way. So it's not the case that always Japanese change, but he's unusual. Okay? He can look at things in a very clear mind. Okay? He could look at his body in a very objective way. Okay? All right, so, okay. Now, here comes another very interesting one. Singular or plural? 単数か複数か? That's a question. Okay. Okay. If you can repeat nouns, 人々、山々, gets a plural. But Japanese doesn't have the plural marker, okay? Like in English. So only things you can do is 人々, people, 山々, mountains, 島々, islands, okay? Like that. But more interesting thing is this. Tachi. Reading is tachi. 男の子たち. Those tachi is kind of you, whatever comes here, you feel close to him or to child, to student. If you are a teacher, 学生たちはね、今日宿題してきたかな? As a teacher, you love students. 学生ら. There's another one, 学生ら. That's not so sound of loving, okay? And ども、鬼ども、若作りども、わっかんども、犬ども. Those are used in a negative way. So kind of away, you are away from those people or animal. Okay? Now, if you want to say いろいろな人, that's very descriptive. さまざまな考え、たくさんの魚, okay. But if you use Chinese word as a prefix kind of thing, then you feel distance. Okay. Okay. Let's skip to say more important things to do. Who or what can take tachi? Okay. So let's look at quickly. Kigi tachi. Kigi. Kitachi is impossible. Kigi tachi. Kigi already, there are so many trees, right? But if you say tachi, Japanese love those trees. Whoever wrote this, okay? 森の中でより集まって昨今の環境破壊を憂えているように感じられます。Okay? Or number two, 私の育てているバラたち。You love roses, right? I love flowers too. I love trees too. And Japanese seems to be talking with flowers. Japanese seem to be, so that's why Japanese started flower arrangement or なんていうんですか、木が小さい木。
盆栽
盆栽. Yeah, they hate to make it larger than them, probably, I don't know. But looks like a big tree. Okay, so that tachi. Okay, so let's see. There's how many I found. Okay, 鹿たち、猫たち、犬たち、馬たち、牛たち、猿たち、豚たち、熊たち。As long as you feel close to them, if not love them, then you can use those tachi suffix, which means kind of means mammals and soft sounds, right? Tachi, okay. Let's see. Birds too, lots of them. Tsubame tachi. Do you use tachi to those animals? Think about it. Americans, there's no distinction. There's no tachi equivalent of Japanese tachi. Okay? So, for example, this example is actual example by let's see, let's look at the translation. No, there's no translation. Oh, yeah. The custom of this aquarium seemsペンギンたちを必ず泳がせるのがこの水族館のしきたりのようだ。Yeah. So if you are working at theなんだろう。
Aquarium?
植物園、動物園。
水族館?
Oh, yeah, right. Then, you know, people who are working there, tachi, and not just working, but the small kids coming with their parents to see panda. Okay. Of course, panda-chan or something like that. But yeah, so Japanese always distinguish psychological status towards something. Okay. Okay. Butterfly, Japanese like butterfly. Hotaru is Japanese, one of the favorite insect. I like too, hotaru. Okay. So let's see. Probably, yeah. Anyway, what I wanted to say is those plural markers is tachi when the speaker or the writer feels close. Okay? Okay. It's not the case that Americans never love vegetables, or not just trees or something. You know, I take a walk under the trees, and I feel like I would like to talk with them, you know, especially when season is changing. Okay, but anyway, okay, let's skip this. 日本語の俳句は英語に訳すことができるか? Can you translate Japanese haiku into English? There are English translations. The most famous haiku laureate is Matsuo Basho. Okay, I don't think there are any Japanese who hasn't heard the name Matsuo Basho in schooling periods. Okay, now, and among many, I don't know, I didn't count how many haiku he has created, many thousands of them, I think. One of the most famous haiku is Furui Keya, five beats. Furui Keya, kawazu tobikomu mizu no oto. 575 syllables. Okay. Now, my question is, how many frogs were there in the eyes of Basho? This is his writing, okay? Yeah. Okay. If you agree, I cannot see it. If you agree, it takes, it is one. How many? Too bad I can't count because the audience is invisible. But anyway, if I ask Americans the same question, Princeton students, all of them said plural. Okay. I asked why? Because otherwise it doesn't make you happy. You know, noisy things is always goes with happy. Certainly on Matsuri, a festival year. Okay. But if you give the same question to native Japanese, has to be one. Okay. Why? Matsuo Basho must have loved instantaneously this kawazu, or kawazu was so cute, you know. But Americans, the more the better. The philosophy of the more the better, right? So this is a very interesting one. There's more example. Yeah. Well, you can write it down this way, you know, beautifully. And kanji, how many kanji are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Each line, 5, 1, 7, kawazu tobikomu. So there are 2. And the last one, 1. Japanese have a rhythm, cultural rhythm. Ruikeya, kawazu tobikomu, mizu no oto. Right? Okay. I'm not denying the European or American poems. Okay, there are certainly rhythm and those, but I have not researched yet. Okay, let's see. Okay, here is the examples. Donald King, famous translator and scholar of Japanese literature, teaching at New York. Columbia University, yeah, right. Okay. And Bryce is a Gakushuin Daigaku, very famous haiku lover. I took, when I was at Waseda, I took his course. He was supposed to teach us Japanese haiku, but he started to criticize the poems of his own country, Britain. And Suzuki Taisetsu, a very famous Buddhist philosopher. Yeah, those are one. Okay. Yeah, more. Lafcadio Han, he is in his own right very famous poet and story writer, plural. Okay. And Peter Berenson, I don't know this guy. All dark, sleepy pond. ちょっとふざけた。ちょっと、quick, unexpected frog goes plop. Or it's just a play on words. And water splash. Or Sid Coleman, translator, old pond, frog leaping, plush. Right? He doesn't care about the number. Yeah. And pond, frog, plop. Not bad. Okay. So even if you just take haiku, you can understand how important to distinguish Uchi and Soto in a metaphorical way. Okay. Yeah, here comes another one. The haiku I like very much. Okay. 枯れ枝にカラスの止まりたるや秋の暮れ。Okay. He was here 37 years old, young. He was young. Middle age, maybe in his period, but and 枯れ枝に look, ひらがな okay? カラスの止まり、ケリ、not たる、but ケリ、秋の暮れ。49 years old. 1 year younger than his, right before he died, I think. Okay. Yeah. Tari and Kelly are two different ones, but Kelly is certainly very strong past tense. Okay. This Taria is not so strong. Taria. Okay. Why he changed, it has been argued among scholars for many years. Okay. 枯れ枝にカラスの止まりたるや秋の暮れ。Okay. Yeah, this is some his friends, maybe, yeah, so many of them. But I like one. Yeah, can tell the loneliness of not just himself, but Karasu. And yeah, so anyway. This is his teacher of paintings. And right on the week or so, right before Soseki died, he drew this, he has drawn this and gave it to Basho. So he believed in oneness of, okay? And Soseki nodded his head. That's a kind of historical fact again. Okay. Okay, let's skip this. Okay. All right, Soseki. I'm repeating. I analyzed Soseiki's style. His style is worth studying, but he has studied haiku many, many years from his teenager age. Okay, from who I don't know. He taught English literature at Todai, but actually he is well versed in haiku field. Okay. Okay. And first one is a spring haiku. Is there a translation? Did I?
ちょっと待ってくださいね。あ、ない。
Ah,
ないですね。
yeah,
はい
yeah,
じゃあ
yeah.
戻りますね。ちょっと待ってくださいで、先生すいません。ちょっと質問が来てるみたいなんですけど、質問の時間どうしますか？
Yeah. Yeah, いいですね。
質問でいいです。よろしいですか？はい。
正岡式ですね。
はい。で、質
あ、
問。
漱石ですよ、これね。
あ、はい、そうです。
はい。
今、質問がなんかオーディエンスの方から来てるみたいなんですけど。
ああ、どんな質問ですか？
ですね。
この、
あ、はい。
ああ、いい質問。私も言うべきでしたね。Ra seems to be more formal than touchy. Okay? あの猫らかわいいね。Never say. You cannot say that. Okay? So Ra is quite different from touch. Okay? So let's see. Let's go next page. Yeah. Yeah. Again, Soseki. I like, this is mine. Okay. Yeah. Did I translate?
いや、ないです。
ない。
はい。
Yeah, let me explain it. Yeah. Okay. Soseki, most important word, which he said couple of weeks before he died. He used to have the get together every Thursday at his home. Okay, and his wife prepared Japanese noodle or all kinds of things, and he never said that his belief is this Sokuten Kyoshi. Sokuten Kyoshi is follows what's going on upstairs. 10. Okay. And you have to forget about yourself. Okay. I like this one. So this is kind of runs counter to haiku world. Okay. Haiku world is a kind of a love story. Okay. Especially Japanese love nature, all right. But Soseki's philosophy is expressed in 4 Chinese characters, and it has never come from Chinese. Okay, I checked it. His own, the Soseki's sinology knowledge is so strong. Okay, and he has written so many interesting novel, long novels. And so I'm still reading it. Okay, so
There's another question that someone has. They asked, do you use nekotachi or nekoda? And what about inu or ushi?
Understand.
So like they asked if
Yes,
like,
say that again, please.
okay, so this next question, they asked nekotachi or nekoda? And what about for inu or ushi? Do you use
Where,
da or
which
tachi?
one are you pointing at?
Oh, it got sent to me.
えっと、
I'll send it to everyone here. One sec.
I mean, no expression of love. あいつら, for example, bad guys, あいつら何をやるか分かんない。We never can tell what they're going to, those guys. Something like that. Okay? Yeah, thank you for the question.
Yeah, and anyone on YouTube, feel free to send some questions so that we can, we can ask Makino Sensei. Someone else asked, they asked, so with using third person, they said that they've heard other people talk in third person. So is that considered Soto or Uchi, or is and why do people tend to use third person when they talk about themselves?
Japanese don't like third person, generally speaking. Yeah, so no marker or use tachi. Yeah. Maybe bad guys seems to beら。あいつら何してんだよ。駅の前にいる学生らとは言わない。ね。男ら。何するか分かんないから気をつけろ。Something like that. Okay? はい。いいですか ?Okay. Lots of things to say about Uchi and Soto. And next, let's go to next.
はい、すいません。ちょっと待ってください。
Let's see what other questions we have. Okay, so another question is, so when it comes to formality, when is it appropriate to switch, when you're building a relationship with someone, when is it appropriate to switch to casual speech from formal speech?
Which sentence are he or she is thinking?
Oh, just at the beginning when you were showing the Soto versus Uchi on your presentation, and you're talking about how Americans tend to use more formality.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when is it appropriate to switch between formality and casual speech?
Yeah, so tachi is a uchi. Okay? Someone who is close to you. Rai is someone who is far, he doesn't love the opposite. He hates them. Yeah. So I think English doesn't have those kind of particles. So very psychological thing. Hey. So Japanese language is not, well, of course there's the mechanical aspect of Japanese language too, but tends to keep something close to your mind, to your physical body. Okay. Okay. Let's. Oh, it's over 31 minutes.
I know, yeah. Do you want to answer one more question at all?
Yeah.
Okay, so one person asked, Okay, here, I'll send this to you too so you can see it. 1 second.
What?
All right, I'm sending you the question so that you can see. So they said, when is it okay to use like 僕が instead of 私が?
あ、違いますね。When it is okay to use 俺が or 僕が instead of 私が and オタクが instead of あなたが。
Both are fine. Both are okay.
Awesome. Well, great. This was so awesome. Thank you so much, Makino Sensei.
Oh,
I
okay.
know,
You're
yeah.
welcome. Sorry, I cannot finish it.
No, I wish we could have. This was so interesting. And like when you talked about the adjectives, that was like mind blowing for me. And I'm sure for a lot of other people, where it's like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I wish we could I'll give you a round of applause and be in person, but virtual round of applause. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure, great pleasure to be able to speak to you and electronically go right into your place.
Right, you're in Utah.
Someday I would like to visit, your campus. And another 3 years, I'm, as I said initially, I think, I'll come up with interesting thing.
Yeah, no, it'd be so awesome to have you up here in the future. So yeah, thank you so much. どうもありがとうございました。
Great pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, everyone that's watching, thank you so